Tēnā koutou katoa, and today's news, opposition parties are demanding changes to monetary policy. Figures released today show that the current account deficit rose to $2.9 billion in the last quarter, which Labour and New Zealand First are blaming on the strong Kiwi dollar. David Parker and Winston Peters want to see changes to the Reserve Bank Act so that the bank can use extra tools to manage the exchange rate. However, the Prime Minister is rejecting their suggestion, saying intervention won't work.
If the member really thinks that he can get the New Zealand dollar down while it remains a floating exchange rate, then he needs to go away and read a few books.
A series of protests has launched in Christchurch against the government's plans to close and merge several Canterbury schools. The first protest began at the Bridge of Remembrance at 5:30 this evening, with another scheduled for the Hagley netball courts at noon on Saturday. Labour's Ethnic Affairs spokesman has recently highlighted the common practice of immigrants anglicising or changing their names when looking for jobs to avoid racial discrimination by employers. Dr. Rajen Prasad urged both job seekers and potential employers to understand the challenge of embracing diversity.
If you're having that experience and if you think taking on a westernised name is going to help you get the interview, then I can understand people doing it. But on the other hand, if we say to employers, hey, if you see a foreign-sounding name, go the extra mile, we do that for a while, and it won't be long before we'll understand it. And I think we just have to keep on working at it because our diversity is not going to go backwards.
Around 100 people from Tuwharetoa and Te Arawa attended today's Shares Plus hui in Taupo today, and that's compared to just 12 in Hamilton last night. The Prime Minister is encouraged by the improved turnout.
Well, what it shows is there's growing interest in going to the hui.
The third hui was held in Whanganui. The government is investigating reports that vehicle traders are putting worn parts into used cars after they get into the country. Associate Transport Minister Simon Bridges says officials are looking into the scam.
I've asked NZTA to actively look at and come back to me on. It's also something that wearing another hat, consumer affairs officials are looking at.
And Valerie Adams has been presented with her rightful Olympic medal in front of a home crowd. It's the first ever Olympic gold medal ceremony on New Zealand soil, and it kicked off at around 6:50 p.m. this evening at the Cloud in Auckland. It's modelled on a traditional Olympic medal ceremony, but also features members of the shot put champions family and wider community, and 14 other London Olympic medalists. The Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authority is concerned with the proposed council bylaw allowing brothels in the Christchurch CBD, saying it doesn't align with the Central City blueprint. Councillor Glenn Livingston says brothels are inevitable, so it's a case of reviewing where they can exist.
I cannot see the committee saying they can't go anywhere, and that wouldn't work, it wouldn't be helpful, and we actually have to make a decision. So it's about trying to keep a balance.
Australia's federal parliament has turned down same-sex marriage. A bill put forward by a Labour backbencher was defeated in the House of Representatives, with MPs voting 98 to 42 against it. Opponents included Prime Minister Julia Gillard. An Australian politician has quit his post after suggesting that legalising same-sex marriage could lead to calls for legalising bestiality and polygamy. The Liberals' Cory Bernardi made the remark during a Senate debate and today resigned as opposition leader Tony Abbott's parliamentary secretary over what he calls ill-disciplined comments. Burma's pro-democracy icon says the country's former military rulers need to commit to political reform. Once a political prisoner, Aung San Suu Kyi is touring the United States as an elected parliamentarian, and she welcomed the lifting of most sanctions on Burma.
And I think sanctions have helped us greatly. There have been many claims that sanctions have hurt Burma economically, but I do not agree with that point of view. The economic impact on Burma has not been that great, but I think the political impact has been very great.
119 years ago, New Zealand made history by being the first parliament in the world to honour women's right to vote. Today is Women's Suffrage Day, and the Women's Affairs Minister held a special breakfast at Parliament this morning to mark the occasion. New Zealand's Rima spoke to the Women's Christian Temperance Union, which was intertwined with the 19th century suffrage movement. As current President Annette Patterson explained, women were staunch advocates for moderation.
It was led by Kate Shepard, and she was the editor of our White Ribbon Digest. Reading history books, they seem to be sort of all intermingled together. these women were living in poverty and their husbands were drinking what money they did get.
The winner of the 2012 Kate Shepard Memorial Trust Award was announced at the Suffrage Night celebrations in Christchurch, the hometown of pioneer suffragette Kate Shepard. The recipient is Helen Tsui, an Otago University researcher working on early detection of Alzheimer's. And finally, the Auckland Council will not play the Grinch this Christmas. Mayor Len Brown has rejected any Santa Parade bylaws that ban lolly scrambles, water pistols or participants who are under 5 years old. Nor will their restriction be a condition of the event permit. He said the council has raised safety issues, but it's for parade organisers to decide compliance. Kanuinga karere matua mai te whare kōrero o rima, mori ora.